my regular voice. So I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday, Kwanzaa, Feliz Navidad to everyone, and Happy New Year. I see a lot of familiar faces. Mostly everyone in the room I do know. I want to thank Assemblywoman Natalia Fernandez for being here, always supporting our community.
Yes, yes.
And I also want to thank our guests as well, and our youth. I want to have been able to do without you guys either. So thank you guys for coming out. So everyone that knows me knows that I'm an advocate for kids. And I started advocating almost about 25 years ago. And the reason why I started advocating is because in 1998, two beautiful little princesses were killed. And I assure you, Raven Williams and Amy Burney will never be forgotten. 100 mourners gathered in a Harlem church on 132nd Street to say goodbye to Raven. Her mother's boyfriend beat Raven to death on July 2nd, 1998. Also, Amy Burney was poisoned by her mother and her grandmother the same year it happened, only 4 buildings away from my daycare center on University Avenue. Both lives ended before they began. Domestic violence and child abuse is plaguing our communities. I'm going to tell everyone here today, if you see something, say something. Offer words of wisdom and support. We are asking our political leaders, police department, family, and housing court judges not to allow the abusers to manipulate these systems to stay in the home they might share with the victims and their children under any circumstances. My heart goes out to each and every family that has experienced domestic violence. We must teach our children how to love and what love is. Show your children. Give them hugs and kisses, but most of all, do not allow anyone to disrespect you in front of your children. They learn from what they see and hear. So with that message, I'm asking everyone that's sitting in this room, if you know someone who's experiencing domestic violence, take time out of your day, offer them words of wisdom. Ask them if they need social services. Make that phone call for them. Because sometimes people who are experiencing domestic violence are embarrassed to talk about what they've gone through. They're ashamed. They keep it inside. And then by them keeping it inside, they'll take it out with their children. And I believe in my heart this is what had happened to Raven Williams and Amy Burney. If you want to know a little bit about what happened to Amy Burney, I have some information on that table. In 1998, we had a street fair, and my husband and I, we decided that we wanted to make sure that Amy Burney will never be forgotten. And so we called together the community, Nicholas Capetta. He came out and he spoke, and I miss our commissioner, Nicholas Capetta, because when I would call his office and I would say, I have a concern, I have some issues, I need to come into your office and speak with you, he said, no problem. When we are going through certain situations in life, I find that people don't know that there are resources that are available. And I feel that if resources were available for Raven Williams, for example, if her mom was able to pick up that phone and say, listen, I have to go to work for 3 hours, can you take care of my daughter? I don't have the means to pay you, but can you help me for at least 3 hours? A lot of parents are having difficulties and they don't have the resources, the financial resources to help them. They don't have crisis care. In Raven's case, I was just 5 buildings away from her. If her mom had called me and said to me, Miss Heather, I need you for a couple of hours, can you help me? I would have told her, bring your daughter, free of charge. And I would have made sure that as a mother and a grandmother, that whatever social services that she needed, I would have made sure that I would have assisted them. So I do feel guilty. And I think sometimes people know what is happening in a home, and because it's not within their immediate family, they tend to turn and they tend to look the other way. So everyone in this room has a responsibility, and they also have an obligation to protect every one of us in this room. If you're going through something, don't be embarrassed. You can call the 1-800 number, yes. But sometimes, and you'd be so surprised that one person that you take time out to and just sit down and say to them, listen, I'm going through a situation. I don't want to really talk about it right now because it is embarrassing. But if I tell you what I'm going through, can you not tell everyone? Because it's personal and it's kind of embarrassing. You'll be surprised that one person that you reach out to might say, you know what? Come on. We're going to work this out together. So this is my reasoning for advocating for victims of domestic violence. Most of all, our teenagers, because sometimes I'm not going to forget about the teens, because teens go through it too. And I'm looking at my young lady because I want you to know that I want you to respect yourself. Carry yourself with dignity. And make sure that anyone that you decide to go out with or date, they respect you. Love is not supposed to hurt. If he hits you one time, he's going to always do it. Even if he tells you, oh, I'm not going to do it again, baby, I love you. Just stay with me. Let's make it work. No. That one time he hits you is that one time that you never allow him to hit you again, and you walk away. Don't answer his phone call. Just walk away and let someone know what he did to you. And that's for the young men. I want you to realize that putting your hands on a young woman is unacceptable. Okay? So with that being said, we have 2 wonderful guest speakers here today. We have Mrs. Melody, who is a supervisor for a domestic violence shelter here in the Bronx for over 25 years, and is a wonderful friend of mine for over 30 years, maybe 35. I'm not going to tell you guys how long, because they're going to figure my age out, so that is secret. So I thank you, Miss Melody, for coming. And we also have Mrs. Kim. She's also a domestic violence advocate, and she's worked with victims of domestic violence that also suffer from mental illness. So I'm thankful that she's also here. She's going to also be on the panel. All right? So did everyone get everything, something to eat? You guys comfortable? Is the room nice and cozy? Are you too warm or too hot? It's good? Okay. So in the meantime, I'm going to ask Assemblywoman Natalia Fernandez. I know she's a little bit tired. She just came back from Albany, so I'm hoping that maybe next time she'll take me with her.
Yeah, you know, everyone should know. Assembly District, that's right here in North Central Bronx Hospital. I have Marshall Parkway, Vincent Norwood, going to Pelham Parkway, Morris Park, Allerton Avenue, and Pelham Gardens. But yeah, I came straight from Albany. It's the first day of session. We just started yesterday and today. And I came straight here because this is an important topic. If not to me, I know to many, many people, it should be important to each and every one of you, because whether you may know it or not, somebody in your life might be suffering through domestic violence or any fears or probably past experiences or risk of human trafficking. So I'm really proud of this coalition right now and the efforts being done to continue to educate each other and to make sure we see signs of human trafficking, that we can, help identify assistance for domestic violence, whatever it may be, and for the brainstorming session to please share the ideas of anything that we're unaware of yet. New York State has been a leader, if not the leader, because I love New York, so I would say we're number one, in fighting domestic violence with certain bits of legislation. Last year, Governor Cuomo had signed a bill that would allow, or actually no, it would ban convicted domestic violence, husbands, having a firearm. So if a husband had been, known to do domestic violence, he can no longer carry a firearm or have a permit for a firearm. We made it possible that spouses or couples can break contracts for cell phone bills or leases, because in cases that the woman or the victim is able to leave the situation, they can break all ties and not have to be tracked down or harassed by their abuser. Governor Cuomo also signed a bill that would provide sex trafficking, human trafficking specific services to homeless shelters, because a lot of times victims that are able to escape, we end up in shelters, but the shelters don't completely understand or provide the direct services to really help relieve from that experience of human trafficking. So with those examples, we're absolutely open to more. We're learning every day of what tricks are being done, what loopholes are being jumped through that are protecting the violent offenders and hurting the victims. So I'm sorry that I can't stay in this conversation tonight, but with the ideas of brainstorming, please share with me. I really am passionate about trying to be helpful in this case, but for legislation, it's specifics. So I need to know specifics, possible, like I said, cases, loopholes where the offender, got away with it or whatever. So again, thank you to the organizers, Shaniqua, and our guest speakers, and Miss Heather, and everyone here. Please don't stop talking about it. Please don't stop fighting this. Please don't stop looking out for each other, and let's really try to end human trafficking altogether and educate each other so no one is ever a violent partner. Thank you so much.
Good. How we doing?
Good.
All right. Well, someone grab the agenda that I have. Please hold. Hey Heather, do you have the agenda that was up there? Yes. So we're gathered here for another month of making sure that our community stays safe and making sure that domestic violence and human trafficking are all things that at some point can ultimately come to an end. Because unfortunately what we see is that our communities are plagued by human trafficking and domestic violence. We have two remarkable folks here who are going to be part of our panel discussion this evening. Can we just give it up for the panelists and show them some And so here's how we're going to be structured. I normally stand behind that thing, but I feel like I'm so far away from it, but I want to come closer, okay? So here's how we have it structured for the panel tonight. We have some specific questions that we're going to ask of the panel, and they will each have a turn to answer the question, and then after we close up the questions that are pre-selected, then we'll open it to the floor, and then if anyone has questions, they also can chime in and ask the questions. Is that cool? Is that cool with everybody? So, human trafficking and domestic violence are heavy topics, so it might get a little heavy in the room, and that's okay, because right now, right here, is a safe space for us to be able to dive into these things, take needed information back to our communities, and just continue to grow and heal from there. All right? So, I would like to introduce Ms. Kay Nazell, who is a mental health consultant, and also Ms. Melody Phillips, and our own Ms. Heather Guerino, who you heard from earlier. And so the first question that I would like to ask is, if a victim is experiencing domestic violence what are some of the major barriers and obstacles that prevent them from leaving, and what support is most needed to overcome those barriers? Would you like to say?
The first thing I would say is that finding housing, like a safe space to go. I know that personally because 20 years ago I am a survivor of over 20 years of domestic violence, and when I did decide to plan to leave, I had to plan to find somewhere to go, and I knew it wasn't, going to be easy because I was leaving with nothing, not even a finance. I didn't even have any money. I had enough to get on the train and get to a family member's house, and that was it. Most of the women that I counsel, it's housing, because the cost of living is so high here in New York. Even if you go to a landlord with a voucher, say for $15.50, if you don't make a certain amount of money, the landlord is not even interested in you. So that could be a barrier for a person who's trying to get out of a DV situation, because you're already going through enough mentally with making a decision to leave, and then I have to worry about where you're going to stay safe, like be at safe. So that's like one of the biggest barriers. There's not enough safe spaces for women to go to.
Thank you so much. And if you wouldn't mind, could you give us maybe like a 30-second introduction to who you are and the work that you do?
Okay, so like I said, over 20 years ago, I was in an abusive relationship. It went from all the tears that they start from. It goes from where the honeymoon phase is over and the devaluing starts to come in verbally. So it would be verbal things like, why do you feel like you need to go to college? You could just, you're a mother now. By then I had 2 children. Why do you need to stay in the Bronx? Let's move to Brooklyn. I had no family in Brooklyn, so I was isolated. Why do you need to have that job that you have? There's too many men. So I was being abused financially, because now he's telling me on how much money I should be making. And that went on for 10 years. That went on for about 10 years until one day he came in very drunk from a gambling game and was very upset about that, and attacked me with a sort of shotgun while my children slept in the next room. I begged to do whatever he wanted me to do, put that gun away. Where did you get that gun from? I let him have his way until he went to sleep. Right then and there, I was packing, all my belongings, and at 6 a.m. while he slept, we crept over him and we left. And I never looked back. And the mental aspect of this, because I don't make any excuses for abuse, but I knew his history. His mother was abused as a person of interest, meaning like he witnessed it. So everything that he saw, he basically dictated that in our relationship. Every story he told me about him fighting his parents' batterer off of her, and having nightmares from the age of 7 up until when we were together about his mother screaming that he's killing me. So then it turned on to that behavior, went on to him. After I got away and, he accepted things for what they were, he never changed. It was the same. They never really do unless they choose to seek that type of help, because at the end of the day, they're not realizing how they're thinking is showing up how they really feel, and how they're feeling is being placed upon you. And if you have children, the cycle is going to just continue. And it's like almost like a generational infection. Okay? It's a generational infection to where your child cannot be witnessing domestic violence in the classroom, but someone else's child who is witnessing at home and has no control of what's being done when his mother is being beat or he's being beat, he'll come to school and take control of the school day and traumatize somebody else's child who now is developing the same mental issues of post-traumatic stress disorder that he or she is going through in the home. So now that's coming into the school systems like an infection, because these children are not being checked at the door. Nobody's saying how they feel. There's no therapeutic check-ins or mental wellness check-ins. Did you eat today? How was your day? You know, how was your morning? How was your night? Especially for the young people between the ages that are in the streets now, between 11 to 25. How was your night? Because a lot of them are sleeping in the streets, not eating for 2 and 3 days, haven't had a shower, because the abuse in the household is so bad, they would prefer to be in the streets. Okay, so that's basically what I do. I do a lot of outreach on that, and just pointing people in the right directions on who they need to see, what politics that they can get involved with. You know, this is the generation where they say a lot now. So y'all young ones in here, y'all gotta make it happen, because y'all gonna be taking care of us at some point, and right now, you know, I'm a little nervous.
Thank you so much for sharing, and I just want to take a moment to hold space.
It is truly an honor, and I am excited to be here with you today to speak with you and share in this event. My name is Melody Phillips, and I have worked over 25 years in the city of New York in the area of social services. My expertise is in social work, and I have worked with populations at risk, as they call it, more specifically with families. And it has been a rewarding experience. This is not to say it hasn't been stressful or difficult, for that is part of the course when working hard at any job involving the public, but it has surely been gratifying. My professional experience has provided me with valuable insight as to how to cope with crisis situations, whether it is permanency planning in the area of foster care and adoption services, or assisting displaced families who have been rendered temporarily homeless due to a wide array of reasons, from housing issues to reassimilating back into society, from institutions such as prison, drug detox, or other medical residences, to refugees seeking sanctuary, and victims of domestic violence seeking a safe haven. The key component in all of these areas and situations is safety. The safety of one's person and one's family is not to be trivialized or overlooked at any time. This has been for too long the case. But we are not taking that route any longer. And for those who are on wobbly ground and are foggy about which way to go and who to turn to, there are resources available. People you can turn to, and places to go to feel more secure and safe. No one should be threatened or feel threatened, be abused or assaulted. Nobody owns you. Nobody should treat you as property. Life is a gift, and it is most important to live as such. There's no coincidence that present has two meanings, a gift and the now. So live in the present like your life is a gift, and be good to yourself. So hello, how are you? How are you all?
Good.
I think it's okay to still say Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay, so let's all talk individually and mutually work on making this year, 2020, a better year than last one. I came up with a new concept for 2020. It's 2020 vision in 2020. Because no matter what happened or not happened to us or to those we love, whether it be a domestic violence situation or relationship, which puts your own self-esteem at risk, where you question your own self-worth, your personal dignity, your essential importance, we must always remember, like a little voice whispering in your ear, that we deserve better, to be treated with respect. This is the clarity of mind in this 2020 vision in 2020 we need to achieve. Opening one's eyes to new possibilities of success, be it personal or professional. Life is too short to be wasted. Live your life like you are living in it. Don't just go through the motions or behave the way you think others expect you to behave. Be brave and willing to create your own happy space in 2020 and onward. Thank you very much for my introduction.
And I was a fact.
Personally, as well as seeing in my clients, is there some fear? A fear that you won't have a home to go to, that people are not going to believe you, that somehow or other it's your fault, or you're the stupid one. Why did you put up with it for so long? There must be a reason. Somehow or other we feel the victim more than once. We end up feeling victimized by the whole event of the stigmatization of domestic violence, having some kind of an encounter or an experience. So you have to get past that fear. And I know because you already don't trust. You know, you're here, you were with someone that you loved, that you thought loved you, and that you trusted. So now that you've been violated, and if you can't trust the person that you thought you loved, that trusted you, that loved you, that you thought loved you and cared about you, how can you now trust an absolute stranger? So that is a major barrier. So for having events like this, for having resources available, where people will just sit down and talk to someone and share, maybe group meetings, we get together with other victims of domestic violence and the like. That's very important, and that's one of the main things, because you have to get past that boundary, you have to get past that obstacle of being afraid. So you have to find some way to move forward, to be able to open up to someone else and to share. And then once you start building that bridge with others, then you can then perhaps then get more tangible assistance where you can physically be in another place. So, I worked a lot with clients that we refer to domestic violence shelters and the like, and for other services, with vouchers, like you could say. So I'm quite familiar with all of that. And it is quite unfortunate that children really do suffer, and they suffer, and they didn't ask for any of that. So, and for them to witness that, and then to feel like, well, if I wasn't here, maybe mommy wouldn't be abused, or daddy wouldn't be going through that. It's because of me they're staying together. So they may not even be conscious of it, but somehow or other it inculcates into the tapestry of their being, and then it carries on into other relationships, and that's where you have a lot of self-loathing, and then that anger comes out in other ways and other times in their lives. And yes, you're right about the cycle that it repeats itself.
So, and thank you for that. Reminds me a lot of, the adage that the folks who are actually closest to the situation, being able to help others get through and survive. Right? And survive. Really, we're talking about survival in all of these instances. So I definitely appreciate that. Miss Heather. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So if a victim is experiencing domestic violence, what are some of the barriers and obstacles that prevent them from leaving?
There's several different reasons. I think the main reason is denial. Sometimes as women, we feel that we can change that person. If we maybe cook a little bit more, or cook that special meal that they like, or
Try to be more sexy.
right, exactly. We feel that we can change it. So we might do little extra little things. But then it'll be okay for a little while. But then you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, he's okay right now, or she's okay right now. And I say she's okay right now because sometimes you have domestic violence in same-sex relationship. And so with that being said, you have the stigma of relationship. So now you're thinking to yourself, well, who do I tell? Because my family don't even like the fact that I'm in this relationship with her. So what do I do? So you're embarrassed to say anything to anyone about it. So you're doing everything you can possibly do, but you have this knot in the pit of your stomach, not knowing, okay, is she gonna come home or is he gonna come home in a good mood? You try to fix up the house to make sure everything is just put together and pray to God that he or she comes home and they're in a good mood. And so when a victim of domestic violence is going through a traumatic situation like that, you have to reach that point where you have to say, you know what? Enough is enough. I can't do this anymore because no matter what I'm doing, it's never good enough. It's never going to be good enough, and I'm just tired of being tired. That's when you just say, you know what? I have to go. Because no matter what I do, what I say, what I it's never going to change. So you as a person have to realize that it starts from self-love. We have to teach our young people to love themselves. Because once you love yourself, there's certain things you're not going to tolerate. You're not going to accept. So we have to teach our young women, first of all, from infancy, that you respect yourself as a young lady. You are a queen. And you are going to carry yourself as a queen. And anyone that you meet is going to treat you like a queen. And if he or she is not going to treat you like a queen, then you need to move on. That person doesn't deserve you. So we need to go back to how it was back in the days. We need to start going back into the school system and start educating our children, our junior high school, elementary, high school kids in terms of self-love.
That's remarkable, and I appreciate that information because what I was hearing you say is that a lot of it can be prevented if we focus on prevention, right?
Yes.
Putting those seeds into these little people, because if we know that there's a problem that could potentially be ruined, if we do some work ahead of time, then maybe we can prevent our folks from, suffering and going through. That is, that's what a remarkable point.
Right.
I would like for our next guest to be able to have a seat. We're all here involved in family, so that's right. Okay.
Okay, well, I'm Sheila. I'm from Guerino, Women Empowering Others with Encouragement, and we are here. I'm here to represent our group. Just trying to empower our young people, our youth, people in the community. To know what it is, to know their rights. We deal with substance abuse. We're talking about domestic violence, and where we can help, we will refer to somebody that can give the help. So I guess today I'm speaking on substance abuse and domestic violence. Ooh, that's a bad combination. So a lot of times, domestic violence, people don't know how to deal with it. So yes, they will turn to drugs, alcohol, whatever else will kind of take them out of that space. Especially in our communities, we don't like to talk about things. We'll walk around with knots on our head, broken arms, and say, oh, I fell, I walked into something, as opposed to letting somebody know. So what we want to be able to, empower those people, men, women, children. It seems like with the young people, that's becoming real serious. They beating up on each other. We want to be able to empower them to just, at least just talk to somebody. You don't have to continue that way. It's not about love. It's really about hate. And sometimes we don't know the difference. You know, it's like, oh, you love me, nobody else gonna love me, or she love me, you know. And it's like, no. You don't have to put up with that. And on top of that, with the substance abuse, it's like, all right, well, what do? You try to take away the pain, you know, whatever the drug of choice is, you know, that you use, yeah. Escape, no self-esteem. And a lot of times it travels from home. We see all this mess in our home and we don't know how to deal. You know, and it's just madness. So for our group, we trying to prevent. And I ain't no scholar. I'm talking from a layperson's point of view. You know, because when I grew up, you hit on sister, and on Ada Mae, on Vicky, everybody came over and handled the business. But we're not talking in those terms. We're talking in terms of getting the help to stop it. Stop the dysfunction. You know, so we'll go on to the next generation. And, you know, he grow up and all he knows is slapping his woman or she's slapping her man. No more. But take care of us in our communities. That's what we're all about. So that's basically my point of view.
You know, if you don't let me say, you know what I was thinking of when you said that? There's this false notion in society, like to be a man, you gotta be in charge, you gotta manage the situation. So a lot of times, a female or the other partner thinks to themselves, well, that's a form of caring. Now that's supposed to be that way. So that it's a control issue in the beginning, and then later on it becomes a violence issue.
And I mean, I guess when you look back long term, like domestic violence, where did it all start? I can pick and name a number of places where it started. You understand? It's like, oh, well, she's a nag, you know, and I got tired of her nagging me, so you slap her. You know, but in turn, it's like, men in this society here in America are kind of groomed to so-called be in charge. And I'm talking about being in charge at any cost. Beat you up, you know, financially holding money from you, you know, or just keeping you isolated from people. Forget about your family. You know, so those are some of the things we have to try to break. Those cycles with these young people, like, no, you don't have to. Y'all can be a 50-50 group, you know. You love her, he love you, y'all can work it out. You ain't gotta be in charge, she ain't gotta be in charge. And if it's same sex, it's the same thing. Nobody has to be in charge. And I think that's a lot of our issue. Everybody wanna be in charge. I don't wanna be in charge. You know, I just wanna be happy, everything good, you know, and offer. Like, okay, I know X, Y, and Z. Do you want to take the advice? You can take it or leave it. You know, but we don't have to constantly argue. Because a lot of times, it's not always physical. It's that verbal, like, please don't do it. So, you know, we're here to help resolve stuff. You know, you got an issue, like I said, if I can't help in my group, we have other outlets, like ladies and gentlemen here. Y'all may have a service that somebody can utilize to help them get out of whatever they're running, because I don't have it, you know? So it's one man washing it up, but each one teach one.
So, thank you so much, Sheila.
But as you can see, I have quite a bit in terms of patients that I work with and services.
Thank you so much. So the discussion tonight has been really powerful and eye-opening. And so I'm just going to jump right in and give you a question. And, you know, you can answer it how you see fit. So the question that we were on was, what are some of the key ways to
relationship, and you see that they always come in appropriate, then all of a sudden there's a change in their clothing, and you know something is happening with them. When we see patients and they are not willing to talk, they may have their, I use the term paramour. If you don't know what that means, paramour is basically your boyfriend, someone you're not married to, okay? And they may have their paramour with them, and they're not willing to come forward, and they're trying to reserve and not talk because they're afraid. In situations like that, we will ask that person, whoever they're with, to leave the room and talk to them, right? Okay? There's other situations that you can see the aggression from the person who is the aggressor, all right? You can see that. And there's sometimes they're just readily open, arguing in front of each other. So that's the key. And also the fact that many times they're not willing to go forward and press charges because they're afraid. They actually are afraid. Even though they get a lot of support from the district attorney's office, from the police department, and those that are working with crime victims, they get support from Safe Horizon, they get support from our hospital as well. But still, they're in the situation, and that's why you want to take time and talk with them, and not like really kind of push them, because you'll find people who's in domestic violence, they will turn around, and even though they are willing to talk with you, and you say, okay, we're going to provide these services, they'll turn back and go right back into the relationship. So I've learned, until a person is really ready to leave, you can try to encourage them, but it's a mindset. When they got tired, it's just like someone on drugs or alcohol, when you get sick and tired, you want to stop it. You're going to walk away, and you're not going to come back. Now, there's situations that they don't get a chance to walk away. We've seen that, we read about it in the newspapers, okay? And I'm really glad that I see these teenagers here, and I just want to say, the reason why I'm saying that, because I see too many young girls in relationships. I'm not going away from the conversation, but it's still on the same focus. Young girls in relationship with young guys, and they act like they're supposed to succumb to him, and he's in charge of her life. And that's the beginning stages of abuse. And those are the relationships you don't want to have anything, because a relationship is based on respect. If there's no respect, there's no relationship. There's never going to be a relationship if you cannot respect each other. And that is very critical in having a relationship. So I'm saying that to you, teenagers that's over there, okay, do not get involved with someone who's controlling you or trying to tell you what to do. That number one, you have to learn. I can really go into detail, so that's why when you said 30 minutes, I'm sorry, but I am a talker. I'm sorry, but you look familiar. Yes. Yeah. I meet a lot of people.
I work for the New York City Police Department.
I thought so.
Basically, I work out of Manhattan, Queens, my entire career.
Okay.
Anybody in Manhattan, Queens?
Yes, Manhattan.
So it's possible then. It's possible.
Well, I'm a clergy with PSA 6.
Okay.
And I've been in the department for over 20-something years, so I've known a lot of officers from the
You
commission.
may have crossed each other's paths.
Exactly.
I have 21 years.
Okay.
I'm a rookie compared to you.
Okay. So Yolanda Jimenez, okay, who is in community affairs. I don't want to get off it, but yes, I recognize faces. So as I was saying, too many times young people get involved with this dating. Learn to be friends, okay? Learn to be friends. That is critical in relationships. It is critical. Learning how to be a friend first, and never ever be in a relationship where the guy is controlling you or vice versa. Now, what I want to say, abuse is not just with the male, with the female. Abuse is with females, with the male too. There's a lot of men who get beat by women. All right? So I just want to say that. So
Thank you. Listen, the answer.
To get dark because things happen over in my hood and I don't feel comfortable to say I'm scared. to my people. So nah, I leave before the sun go down because I'm scared of what temptations might come my way. Somebody trying to get me to take a pack and sell drugs. Somebody trying to get me to join a gang, and I have a gang, my family, my faith, like all of the obstacles that they go through. So when you try to tell them about who they are and you have no idea really who they are, there's a cultural disconnection in a lot of schools. On top of, like I always go back to, the mental health aspect of post-traumatic stress in the household, of just being a young black girl or a young black man going home in areas that a lot of them, I don't care what the bracket of what their parents are making, in urban areas. It's not easy. It's not easy. So in the educational system, I see a lot of cultural disconnect. I see a lot of like projected look disconnect. Like, I think you should be dressing like an adult, not like the student. There should be some sort of formation of the adults. You know, you telling them to wear a uniform, but you coming in almost with a crop top. What's happening? Like, you know, and then you want to check this girl, or that your uniform shirt is too small, but yours is, you know, like the disconnect of, you know, do as I say. You automatically telling them to shut up. Like, what you say don't matter. You just sit down, take this test, and you get out my classroom. So they're automatically silenced by the rules and regulations of the school that they go to.
Thank you so much.
In the home, right? It does include all different relations. It doesn't even have to be marital or your relation. Anyone who's living within a household. If you're having a DV situation with someone else living in a household, that's considered a potential domestic violence issue, and it should be examined by a social worker to see if someone needs to be placed, you know, referred for further services to safeguard.
And I think a lot of times when we hear domestic violence, right away we think of husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend. We don't even really acknowledge the kids. So at this point, we have to be mindful and really think about everybody that's affected if it's in the household. As opposed, okay, police came and they talking to mommy and daddy, about the kids, you know, nobody really checks the kids.
It could be the mother's new boyfriend.
You know, so
it could be anyone that, you know, and then
like,
Well, it could be mother and child.
Yes.
It could be mother and child.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I see one more question for the panel, and then we're gonna bring the founder and CEO of Freedom Youth to lead us into our next section.
Yeah. So thanks for that question.
Want to have their friends over, that's fine, but they need to be boundaries set in the home first, in terms of explaining to your 14-year-old or your 15-year-old that an adult needs to be home. Parents need to reach out to other parents, so this way you are trying to raise your children a certain way, but you have no idea what type of home your child friend came from. So with that being said, I think communication with the parents, because you don't want to tell your children, well, you can't have Johnny over tomorrow, but you might not want Johnny over because Johnny might be a victim of domestic violence. Maybe he was being abused by his older brother. Then he comes over to your house and then he's beating up on your son. You're like, well, what happened? I thought you guys were friends. But that's just the way that he showed love, because his brother showed him love that way. So it starts from the home, first of all. You have to have an open communication, an open dialogue with your children. Be involved with their school, be involved with their education, and you have to be open with your children. You have to communicate with them and let them know that it doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or whatever. Come to me, talk to me, let's work it out. Go to your children's school. If something is not right in your children's school, for those who children do attend public school, go to that school, talk to that principal, and let them know, I am not in agreement with the curriculum. If there's an incident in your child's school, let it be known that I want more safety school officers at 3 o'clock or 2:30 when my child gets out of school. be proactive. You have to be proactive, because if not, you can't expect anyone else to be proactive. So communication is very important.
Thank you so much, Ms.
So that's why we are where we are today, because of the situation has gotten out of control of domestic violence. I'm not saying that there wasn't relationships that was actually deemed domestic violence. I'm not saying that. But as a whole, you did not see children, it was fist fights. And after that, it were friends.
Yeah.
Okay? It wasn't all of this. People don't fist fight no more. Okay? They don't even know how to hold their fists. All right? Because that comes from boxing. If you know how to box, you know how to hold your hands. All right? So they don't see that. They have no idea about that. And boxing is a legal sport. But that will not seen as a legal sport today. Okay? Because now they have the word domestic violence. And because of the change, it has taken everything out from the neighborhood. When I was coming up, you had neighborhood policing, okay? They were friendly. They didn't take you in because they took you to your parents and they dealt with your parents, okay? The teachers dealt with your parents. It wasn't where if they had a ruler and they whack you one, all of a sudden, oh, it's child abuse. Everything has changed, okay? And that's where the problem is at. It's changed. But we have to learn how to come together and work together because times are different. It's unfortunate. I mean, even the madness in the street, okay? There's no courtesy on the road, and you're not driving yet. There's no courtesy on the road at all. Road rage, all of that. It's just off the charts now, you know? So it comes back to mental health issues. People are beyond anger, and they're not dealing with whatever is going on in their personal life, and is transferring it outside. And yes, everything does begin in the home. Everything. Even learn how to hold a fork, and how to hold a knife, and how to cut your food. Everything starts at home. If you don't know how to do that at home, when you go out, you're going to be embarrassed because you don't even know how to set a table. And most people don't even know how to set tables no more. They don't know how to line garbage cans. They don't know what that's about. Right. McDonald's, Burger King, that's it. Throw it on the table, just eat, let's go. Okay? So,
I'm really
that's
grateful.
enough.
I'm really grateful that you brought up that point because we have this discussion all the time as some of the folks that are trying to drive the change back to what we remember as young people. And you know, the fact that we have all of these external entities that are quite literally designed for people to experience this rage that you're speaking of, from the hormones in food to the images on television, what our children specifically, when I say our children, I'm speaking about Black and brown children, witness as what the representation of them is supposed to be in a society that's just inundated with social media, inundated with television, so on and so forth. So those are also some things to take away from that, and really appreciating some of those home economic values and that came based from grandma, right? We learned those things from like grandma. They've taken it out of the schools. So it seems like a really multi-layered issue, a multi-complex issue. But once we begin identifying where the enemy targets are coming from, right? Because I speak frankly, right? Then we can build around that and combat that, and then jump into prevention to make sure that our young people wind up being better. So with all that being said, we have an organization friend in the room who's going to come up.
I'm with the police force for 21 years now. We may have crossed paths. I hope we never cross paths unless it's in a positive way. I started out, I taught at the police academy. I moved, I got promoted to sergeant. I became a domestic violence sergeant. I was in domestic violence for about 3 years. I moved on since. I went to the vice division. I've been working mainly with enforcement in the vice division, working on a lot of sex trafficking victims, brothels, massage parlors, things like that nature. I've recently moved to the human trafficking unit. This is the first time I've stood in front of a group in about 15 years since I taught at the police academy, so give me a little slack, all right? But I just want to talk briefly about some of the signs of sex trafficking. There's 4 types of human trafficking. Sex trafficking is primarily what we're trained to deal with. There's coercion, threats, force, or ways that keep people in that life. And it goes very closely with what you heard this panel so eloquently discuss tonight about signs of domestic violence. A lot of our victims come from backgrounds where they were, treated in violent ways in the home. Just this week, we found a 15-year-old girl, and to me, it's rare. I'm not used to seeing this, so I've been dealing mainly with the adult population for my career. But this girl, she came from a home that was broken for all intents and purposes, and moved and was been living on the streets since she was 11 years old. She's smarter than me, because at 11 years old I could not have survived on the street. And she was very eloquent in her speech. She was very forthcoming. She had no problem talking to us, and she told us pretty much that she's been doing it. Does anybody know the average age that people get brought into this lifestyle? 12, exactly. But she's been doing it since 11. And quite commonly, the traffickers are somebody that we know, personal, family members. So it starts out from a point of domestic violence. And a lot of the signs are the same. They're very close, they mesh very close. Which is why when we talk about this month being Domestic Violence and Human Trafficking Awareness Month, they come together because a lot of it starts at the same point. A lot of signs to look for, especially you guys might see it in school if you see, people it could be a girl your age, it could be a guy your age. We talk primarily about women because that's commonly what we see. It does happen to men and boys as well. Don't get me wrong if you feel that I'm ignoring that, I'm not. But a lot of times we'll see signs. Either the young lady will be completely become to be withdrawn from her friends, or she'll start to be showing off, all of a sudden she goes from borrowed clothes to dressing extremely well, to having a Motorola flip phone to having the newest iPhone, So a lot of these are things that you guys, and changes in behavior patterns are really key when it comes to it. That you people will see far before I as the police department will see. When we get involved, it's usually after all this has already happened. But you guys can see that development and that change in that person because you know who they are before that. So I brought cards with our human trafficking hotline. I'll leave them on the table for everybody to take.
I know that you work with police. I know that that's also a hot spot out there for massage parlors.
Yep.
Some schools are even starting to begin on students that have issues with being sex trafficking. Can you speak to that just a little bit? Because a lot of people tend to think that it does not happen in our school system. However, they won't allow organizations to go in and combat this issue.
Right. So, most if not all of our.
We have to also remember Miss Janice.
Yes.
Janice, because she works with the auxiliary. She's on the auxiliary. Also, her husband, Mr. James, they're on the auxiliary. They came out for Christmas and were giving the toys out to the kids.
Absolutely.
On the 20th, right, Janice? Yes. On the 20th, yes. Ruben Diaz was there. So Janice too, also, and Mr. James. Put your hand on Mr. James. Put your hand on Mr. James, the one and only Mr. James.
Yes, yes.
You want the money, baby?
Yes.
To each patient. That's right. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Better get that on video. Say it again.
On Christmas Day, we're here in the hospital from the top to the bottom, giving gifts to each patient.
Amen. Amen. This work is led by Black women, y'all.